Film starts and we see teacher Joseph Heiter, who is sitting in his Mercedes and is checking an image out. In that image, 3 canines stand in such a way that one is behind the other and the third is remaining behind them. On seeing this, a truck halts. Furthermore, the transporter is going towards the woodland for the latrine. Teacher Joseph fires his firearm and targets him. We see 2 young ladies, one of them is Jenny and the other is Lindsay. The 2 of them have a place with the US, however have come to Germany for a trip. They had gone to the club to commend the party. Furthermore, Lindsay was accepting on the call about the party area. Albeit both used to travel, they had no particular thought regarding Germany. Both take leased vehicle and travel around evening time to the area of the party. The party's area was not known to them. Going through the wilderness, comes out very far and has gotten lost and stalls out in the issue. At the point when Jenny takes a U-turn of the vehicle and their vehicle's tire gets penetrated. They attempt to call vehicle fixing administration. Be that as it may, it is a backwoods, so there is no sign on their portable. What's more, they stall out on a fundamental street that has no populace around it, aside from the side of the woodland. Furthermore, ought to take help from anyone who passes from the street. The 2 of them choose to stay in the vehicle. Then a vehicle passes there and the 2 of them attempted to take help from him. An elderly person in this vehicle sees that both look alone. What's more, seeing them he attempts to verbally disturb. They are frightened excessively. What's more, lock the vehicle from inside. Then, at that point, that vehicle goes from that point. Then, at that point, they find a home where they can call for help. It is late around evening time and the 2 of them stroll towards the backwoods. Then, at that point, they notice a light exuding from a house. The 2 of them advance to this house. Then, at that point, abruptly downpour begins intensely. The 2 of them get extremely wet when they arrive at this house. They thump on the entryway and teacher Joseph emerges. They let him know their concern and advises him to call a crisis for a vehicle repairman. Both are distant from everyone else. The teacher welcomes them in. There was a weird painting in the teacher's home that she was taking a gander at with her unusual eyes. What's more, that entire painting is very upsetting. The teacher then asks them, are they travelers? What's more, one of them says that, we are from New York and have come here to visit Germany. She again advises the teacher to call the crisis call repairman. However, the teacher doesn't focus and disregards them. He then inquires, would you say you are family members? She answers, we are not family members, but rather we are companions. Then the teacher gets up and goes to the kitchen to get some water. Likewise settles on a phony decision that Jenny and Lindsay figure he may be calling the call repairman. Then he blends a medication in the water which Lindsay drinks, however Jenny drops the glass. Seeing this, the teacher treats them seriously. Then, at that point, he goes storm cellar to clean the water. Going cellar, he fills an infusion. Then again, Lindsay was in a weak condition. In light of medication impacts. Be that as it may, Jenny doesn't, and she advises the teacher to call once more, yet he declines. Then, at that point, he infuses a similar infusion into the neck of Jenny. What's more, she has blacked out right away. Then, at that point, the teacher is eating. What's more, Jenny and Lindsay wind up in the teacher's lab. They understand that they are attached to the bed. Notwithstanding these 2, there is a man who is likewise detained, and he is the transporter. The teacher needs to enter the lab and informs the man, which he doesn't commend, and that it is the ideal opportunity for somebody like him to pass on. Then he implants a poison into his corridors and kicks the bucket when on the off chance that he then covered the body of the driver in his nursery. The teacher then utilizes his sedation potion to convey a man oblivious. He's from Japan, and he's imparting a bed to Jenny and Lindsay. They all woke up and begin shouting since they didn't have any idea how the teacher would treat them. He approaches to clear their disarray. Furthermore, presents himself as the teacher Joseph, and he is a resigned specialist. He was a distraught specialist. One of its most bizarre callings was swing living things. In the no-so-distant past, he performed the medical procedure with 3 canines behind one another. Also, that frantic specialist planned to play out a similar procedure on Jenny, Lindsay and Japanese. Since their skin tissue matches, he was additionally enlightening them concerning the activity subtleties. He first takes out their knee tendons, also finish them totally so that can't stand. He will interface subject B to the rear of subject A and furthermore subject C to the rear of subject B. He will remove the skin of their hip and put the skin of their jaw there. What's more, associate the 3 as found in the chart. In this way, when the subject N eats a food, its waste material will go into the mouth of subject B, and it likewise will go into the mouth of subject C. It is self-evident that this interaction is a seriously less expensive and revolting. What's more, no typical individual can make it happen, since the specialist is insane and he jumps at the chance to do messy examinations. It is his most memorable involvement in the human body. Most importantly, he infuses a dormant infusion to the Japanese man that causes him in an oblivious state. Jenny is shouting noisily and the teacher attempts to give a similar infusion to her too. In the interim, Lindsay opens the rope with her teeth and takes off. She has dribble needles in her grasp which is pulling her skin and cause dying. She goes to a room and shuts its entryway. In any case, teacher shows up there and breaks the window of that room. Lindsay likewise takes off from that point and falls into a pool. The teacher likewise comes there and covers all pool with the top. Then, at that point, abruptly power gets off. Taking haziness advantage, Lindsay takes off. She goes to the teacher's lab and opens the rope of her companion Jenny, who is oblivious because of the infusion. She hauls Jenny from that point and brings her outside. However, teacher likewise comes there. He likewise gave her a similar infusion, and Lindsay is presently oblivious too. Then he picks the two of them and brings to the lab. Then he begins the activity. First, he draws out the subject's tendons and teeth. Then he utilizes the marker to stamp their body. Then, at that point, eliminates their hip and face skins, and does quite a wild activity. Scene end. Then, at that point, a couple of days after the fact, the teacher is displayed while drinking. Also, before him, his human centipede is put on the ground. Their injuries are not yet mended also. The teacher attempts to drive them to stand up together. They are associated in this manner that at the very front is the Japanese man. The center is Lindsay and at the most end is Jenny. Jenny is toward the end and she is considered as the story of the centipede. They are feeling torment, however teacher makes a photo by standing them effectively. Then he shows them a mirror also. They express continually crying by watching their condition. He keeps them in the enclosure and acts like creatures. What's more, this thing continues endlessly for a long time. He powers Japanese men to eat like canines. Teacher again breaks the Japanese man's jaws. Then we see that the teacher is treating them severely and take them outside. Then the Japanese need to go to the latrine. On dismissal, his human waste goes into the mouth of Lindsay. Lindsay needs to swallow it. It was a messy cycle in review, even in thinking too. Teacher really looks at their ailment, which shows that Japanese is fine, yet Lindsay has obstruction since she isn't processing the human misuse of this man. Then again, Jenny isn't getting any food or power hotspot for her body, since she ate nothing and getting more vulnerable. Her injuries are still new and she is by all accounts kicking the bucket soon. Teacher remembers to migrate Jenny. In the interim, an unexpected thump on the entryway shows up and we see two cops. The police come there to find Jenny and Lindsay. They vanished for a long time. Their vehicle was at distance from the teacher's home. The teacher lets them know he is a specialist and he is occupied to such an extent that he has no chance to go out. He is clueless about those young ladies. The teacher requests that they drink. They say we will have espresso. He says no, you will just get water. On it, the cops suspect him also. The teacher was taking water while blending drugs in it. The official lets him know somebody has paid attention to the voice of the vanished young ladies from his home. Furthermore, we have found your Mercedes from the truck whose driver's missing for a long time. Hearing it, he yells and requests that they hydrate. They toss the glass. Concocting a rationalization for the towel, he goes to take the infusion, from which he can make them faint. Yet, this time he was uncovered before the cops. In his clarification, he says you can't prod anybody with practically no justifiable excuse. You can't fault me with practically no warrant. They move to take their warrant. The teacher comes to his lab and he doesn't see his human centipede there. Since they stow away, they wound a careful blade in his tummy. He falls because of it. The Japanese man cuts the neck of the teacher and its mass comes in his mouth. Then, at that point, they attempt to go higher up. Since they were frail and were worked, so they can't go higher up. Their swing region was dying. They move up the steps, however the teacher comes behind them. He begins licking their blood from the steps. The Japanese break the mirror and the specialist likewise shows up there. The Japanese cut off his neck with the glass, and he kicks the bucket accordingly. In the meantime, those cops additionally arrive at there. Be that as it may, they didn't see anybody. They go to his lab, there was additionally none. The cop feels inebriated, in light of the medication that he gave him in the water. At the point when the other official inquiries, he tracks down them. In any case, their condition was more awful. The official goes to the teacher to hold him. He was sitting at a pool. His buddy cop was likewise killed. Then, at that point, he shoots the other cop with the gun of the cop. Consequently, the cop additionally shoots teacher Joseph. They both die and there wasn't anything left except for the centipede made by Dr. Joseph. It was a cheap experiment of a mad doctor. The movie ends. If you like the explanation of the movie,